than his stepdad, you're also one of his best mates, and I think for that reason it's been appropriate that we've been sharing the role today, and it's been a great pleasure.
Thanks, Jake.
So, as Nick helpfully alluded to, I've known Jason for a long time, and in a sense we grew up together, and we've been there for each other throughout all the significant firsts in life. And today's certainly one of them, unless of course Nick has omitted anything from his retelling of the trip to Las Vegas. Now, growing up, I always suspected that Jason would be the first of my friends to get married, and he almost was. He was just pipped to the post by our good friend James Robinson, who's there somewhere, but as he will attest, pregnancies do have a habit of expediting things. But this suspicion of mine came from the fact that when we were growing up, Jason always seemed to be ahead of the game when it came to women, or at least that's what he told us. But just as with any teenager trying to impress his friends with stories of his romantic prowess, there were often some, I'm trying to be generous here, some inconsistencies in his stories. But in the spirit of friendship, I'm prepared to overlook all this, and I'll give Jason the benefit of the doubt. So as I stand here today, I'm prepared to accept that Jason is the only person I know to lose his virginity 3 times. Now, in preparation for this speech, I tried to work out how long me and Jason have known each other, and by my calculations, it's about 17 years. Now, I say known because we weren't always friends for that period of time. I think we've only been friends really for about 15 years. Now, the reason for that is that when I first met Jason, we didn't have very much in common, and if I'm honest, I wasn't particularly impressed. At the time, and this is when we were around 12, he was heavily into his gangster rap phase. He listened to all the greats: Biggie Smalls, Tupac, Dr. Dre, Eminem. Now, to me, this was all alien. I was from a tiny village in rural Leicestershire where the demographics was more BNP than NWA. As far as I was concerned, a 2-pack was a Lego set that gave you 2 different things to build. But as is typical of Jason, and he is someone who immerses himself in whatever he's into at any given time, it wasn't just the music, and he made great efforts to immerse himself into this gangster rap culture in the infamous ghetto that is Oadby, Leicestershire, average house price £318,000. When I first met him, he had a gold earring in one ear and a Nike tick shaved into the back of his head. He'd often be found representing the East Coast with his Miami Heat basketball jersey. In fact, I actually misinterpreted our first one-on-one encounter as an attempted mugging. It's actually true. I was walking home one night and I heard someone running up behind me to see Jason with a gold earring glistening in the sun, fully clad in a Kappa tracksuit, shouting, "Oi mate, can I see your Pokemon cards?" But it wasn't long after that we became the closest of friends, and our friendship really grew in direct proportion to Jason's descent into his next phase, the heavy metal phase. Overnight, he threw out the Marshall Mathers LP, and in came Iron Maiden's No Prayer for the Dying. In fact, I remember Jason actually bought an Iron Maiden rug off eBay and used it as a prayer mat. The irony of this won't be lost on anyone who's familiar with Jason's food poisoning story in China. Now, this is not quite appropriate for this speech, but I will be available after over here if anyone's interested.
Brilliant.
So as me and Jason became friends and we became heavy metal fans, he decided that he'd grow out the Nike tick and decided to grow his hair long. And he had a plan to do this. He went to his hairdresser, who assured him that he would cut it in such a way that it would grow into the long locks that he was looking for, something like what Loz is sporting tonight. Now, sadly for Jason, this didn't quite work out, and it sat for a period of around 2 years in what is known in the beauty industry as the awkward phase, which to you and me is a mullet. In fact, it's amazing he was able to lose his virginity even once. But it wasn't just the music and the look. Inspired largely by Malcolm Young, Jason developed a nicotine habit that would have been unaffordable for any 14-year-old. But ever the pragmatist, Jason was determined to find a way to smoke, and he did. He realised that if he could find enough cigarette ends on the floor, he could roll his own cigarettes. I was both appalled and impressed. So he ended up stealing one of Michelle's Tupperware boxes and would carry it around with him, filling it up with cigarette ends off the floor. It was hugely successful. And it's really that entrepreneurialism or frugality that really makes Jason who he is. And he's always looking for investors. Now, it was around that time that we started playing in bands together. And we were regulars on the Leicester circuit from around the age of 13, and then eventually we graduated to playing nationally. Now, if I'm honest, I was never really quite sold on the touring lifestyle. After a while, it was just an endless stream of late nights in dive venues in the roughest parts of Birmingham, London, Manchester, and just Liverpool generally. Okay. I actually remember turning up to gigs and feeling pretty uncomfortable by the situation we found ourselves in. By this point, we were travelling with thousands of pounds worth of material, and guitars and amps and drum kits and everything, and I was always quite worried whether we'd actually get out of the place with our stuff, but Jason was never bothered by this. No matter where we were booked to play, he would turn up, and he seemed completely in his element, and he was unfazed. The best example of this is one night we were playing in one of these dive venues in the outskirts of Norwich, and I remember being stood at the urinal with Jason, and two guys came in. One of them said to the other one, "Right, mate, I really like your jeans. How much do you want for them?" The other guy said, "Oh, cheers. I'll give them to you for 60. They negotiated for a little bit. I think they settled on around 45. The guy took his jeans off, passed them to the guy, gave him the cash. I was completely horrified by this. I said to Jason, "This guy has just sold his trousers right here in the toilet." And Jason goes, "Yeah, they were pretty nice jeans, man." But aside from all the terrible gigs, we did get to travel around the country playing, which was a blessing. And it was great to go on tour with Jason and Jay DeMello, who's here, who's absolutely instrumental in us going on the road in 2008, which was fantastic. And I'd also like to mention James Robinson. You're a late joiner to the band, and we know you gave up a position in a fantastic band to be part of the Utopians, so I know me and Jason are really grateful for that. And in fact, and this is the truth, James, there isn't a time that me and Jason have got drunk where we haven't talked about what you did on the Hustle EP, so we are very appreciative of that. But although Jason and I did play in bands together for years and we had a great time doing it, eventually we had to accept that we weren't going to be rock stars. Now, this is a bitter pill to swallow, but for me, I think it was a little bit easier for me to accept this than Jason. I think in hindsight, the X Factor audition tape was a bit of a cry for help, maybe. Now, as is customary, I would like, on behalf of the ushers, to thank the bridesmaids for everything they've done, and I'm sure you'll all agree that they look fantastic this evening. And I'd like to make a special mention for Jason's sister, Paige, and I'd like to congratulate her on getting offered to the best university in the world. So hopefully we'll be up here in September. I'm looking forward to that. I know Jason and Eloise can't wait to have their sister up here in the city, so well done on that. And a special mention is also in order for Becky, the chief bridesmaid. By all accounts, she did an outstanding job organising the hen weekend in Brighton. And from what from what I understand, it made our stag in Madrid look like a 3-day meditation retreat. If meditation retreats were sponsored by Maho Export. Now, I'm sure you're all itching to get to the music and to hit the bar, and believe me, no one here wants a pint more than I do right now. But before I wrap things up and take the honour of toasting the bride and groom, I just wanted to talk about what a great friend Eloise has been to me, because although I'm the best man and I'm on Jason's side of the wedding party here, 2 of my best friends got married today. As everyone here is no doubt aware, Eloise is one of these people who elevates everyone around them, and you never come away from an encounter with Eloise without feeling a couple of inches taller. she really is there for her friends, and it shows, and she's been there for me just countless times, and I'd just like to thank you for that. And I'm always struck by your kindness and your generosity, and particularly your hospitality. In fact, I can't think of any other woman who would invite me into their home and offer me a can of Taurus cider after I'd just persuaded their fiance to bet £200 on a college basketball game. But you did, and thank God North Carolina covered. But considering all your many virtues, I sometimes wonder how you deal with Jason, and then it all clicks, and I remember you are actually a fully qualified primary school teacher. But it's for those reasons, among many others, that I really do count you among my closest friends, and I think that's certainly a good thing, so I think we're both stuck with Jason at this point. So if you will join me in toasting Mr. and Mrs. Westall.